Hey guys, this is Al, over at the shop, this time around, working on the Corniche. So, not sure if I mentioned it in my last video, but you know, after I got the car running, the fuel injection was running fine and everything else like that, I noticed that I wasn't getting a full charge out of the alternator. Sometimes it will kick in, sometimes it wouldn't. So, the alternator on it was a Delco Remy alternator, as a matter of fact. It's this alternator right here. The part number on it is 1105618, 108 amp alternator, so it's a nice healthy good size one. And wasn't sure what the problem is, obviously, you know, the problem was obviously the alternator. So but I wasn't sure at the beginning, so I took it over to took it off and took it over to O'Reilly's. They put it on their machine, and they told me that the alternator was bad. You could buy, just for your information, this is called a GM 17 SI alternator. So the 12 SIs is pretty much what I put on my Silver Shadow about 4 years ago, but the 17 SI is just a bigger version, right? So I think the 12 SI is good for like 63 amps or something like that, and this is 108 amps. You can buy them on Amazon all day and all night for around $100, anywhere between 75 and 150 bucks. I bought a replacement. I actually went to take this in to an alternator repair shop, and they said that they had a brand new one that was sitting on the shelf for 200 bucks, and if I wanted to buy it and save myself the aggro, and I thought to myself, yep, because I kind of like to keep this one as a core, and the reason behind it is because if I choose to do another GM alternator conversion, I can make sure everything kind of lines up and matches. So I wanted to keep this one, even if it's a test weight. So this car didn't originally come with a GM alternator. There were some models, I think in the later years, like the Turbo Rs, that did have a GM alternator, but this one still had the CAV alternator. It was a 1984. Somebody had already replaced it before I bought the car, and what they did is they cut a bunch of wires in the trunk of the car where the voltage regulator was, and they cut a bunch of wires in the front of the car where the alternator was. So all that was left really that was plugged into the alternator when I got the car was the single wire. And technically these GM alternators can run in single wire mode. Once the alternator spins at a certain speed, it'll start generating its own current. So, but obviously that stopped working for me, and this is why I had to go through what I need to go through. What I also noticed is that the generator light would never turn on, obviously because it wasn't plugged into anything. So let me show you what I did. Let me get my flashlight and then I'll take the camera off the stand. And if you can't tell by looking at me, it's already in the high 30s. It's like 37, 38 degrees today, Celsius, which is crazy because not even a month ago it was sub-zero and I had to basically turn the water off in the building because I was worried the pipes might freeze. And I also had to take the cats home because I was worried that they may freeze. But let me take the camera off. So a lot of these connections were disconnected, a lot of these wires. This one was actually connected, this double live was connected to the brown with the green tracer. And that went to the front of the engine. So the engine had a permanent live going there. That in itself is a permanent live, which I need to tape up, knowing what it is. I couldn't tell the other ones were up in the front. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape all those up. I did see this one, the green tracer, up in the front of the engine. So what I did is I connected this brown wire with the white strip, which is the generator light switch, pretty sure, to this wire. And before I did that, I basically checked the voltage on this, there was no voltage with the ignition off, and there was voltage with the ignition on. So I basically ran a little wire to this connection over here and grounded it, and sure enough, the generator light turned on. So I knew at that time that that was a generator light. So now that these two are connected, and they're connected with a little GM fuse, I'll tape that all up. I have a generator light wired up to the front of the car where I can plug it into the alternator. At the front of the alternator, all I have is that brown wire with the green trace. The other wire that I have is this wire that I made myself, and it's just a little white wire that connects the top pole on the alternator. Remember, this alternator is hanging upside down in some cases. The thick part is on the upper side, and it connects to the back of the alternator where the battery is connected to. Okay, so that gets a signal straight to the battery, and what that should do is that should basically excite the alternator, and the bottom wire should light up the generator light and then also turn it off. So does it do that? Well, there's a car. Alright. So you have the battery light is lit. It goes out. Go into my trusty charger. I'm getting 13.9 volts. So I know 14 volts. So I know at this point battery's charging correctly. So everything works. So guys, if you're planning on upgrading the GM alternator, it was a little bit harder for me because there was no voltage regulator. If you have a voltage regulator in the back, just follow the instructions that I did for the Silver Shadow, which kind of explains everything that you need to do. If you don't, take a voltmeter and check for the ignition live wire, which is that one with the white trace. And then from there onwards, take that wire. So if you do, you have to basically make sure you test all the wires. And so what you want to do is you want to find the wire in the back that's powered by ignition live. And then once you identify that wire, not the permanent live one, the ignition live one, run a small wire from it and ground it. See if you can turn the generator light on. If you can, that's the one that you need to basically connect to one of these other wires that goes up to the alternator, right? Then on the alternator side for a GM alternator, the only thing you have to do is connect that wire, which is that brown one with the green tracer in our case, at the bottom, and then connect the top wire to the back of the alternator, and you will get voltage, and it will charge as soon as the engine starts. So that's pretty much it. Okay guys, so I thought I would pull up the wiring diagram because it might help a little bit more. As you can see, we have the alternator here, and there's really just three wires to the alternator. There's the field, there's the warning lamp, which are spade connectors on the side of the alternator, and then there's obviously the bigger charge wire on the back, and then there's a negative wire as well that you can install. As far as the voltage regulator is concerned, the voltage regulator on a Rolls Royce of that era, which had the cab alternator, would have an external voltage regulator in the boot of the car. There would be 5 wires connected to it. There'd be a negative wire, and then 3 other wires, one of them for the warning lamp, one of them constant live. And what it would do is it would basically regulate the voltage from the alternator and make sure that it doesn't overcharge or undercharge. Now, I couldn't quite read the colors on the wiring diagram. I couldn't read the codes. I was able to find this website, and you can see the name of the website here on the top of the address bar. But what it does do is it explains all the colors that are used in the wiring systems of British cars. And you can see there that the brown with the green tracer is the one that goes to the alternator. So that wire was connected on my car to live, so I was getting a constant 12 volts. What I did do is I found the other wire that would only power up on ignition. I grounded it, and when I saw that it would turn on the warning lamp, I hooked it to the wire that goes to the front of the car, so that I could connect it to the alternator. I didn't use the field wire at all because I just felt like I didn't need to, because I ran that little pigtail from the spade connector to the back of the alternator, and it should be able to do the voltage regulating by itself with just that. Now there's a gentleman on the Piston Heads forum that did help me with this. You can see here he wrote a really good description and provided a picture of the voltage regulator, which I didn't have. 82 years old, obviously very experienced, very, very good at explaining this. And he was able to basically break down what each wire would do, and then how to correctly wire a GM alternator with an internal regulator and do away with the voltage regulator. In my mind, that's a fantastic upgrade because A, it's more reliable, and B, it's less expensive, and you get more amperage out of it if you do it that way, right? If you wanted to drive a stereo, if you want to drive upgraded headlights, anything like that would require additional amperage, and I think those cab alternators are really good for like either 60 amps or maybe even less. So in my mind, if you want to do this upgrade, it's a great upgrade, and hopefully this video explains how you would go about doing it. It's a pretty good result. I still have some running issues with this car. It's running sometimes rich when it's cold. Sometimes it has trouble starting. Not sure if it's dialed in correctly. What I really need to do is, I'm not using any of the Lambda stuff on the CIS injection. I'm just running straight CIS like I would see in an old Mercedes, for example. But I do have a bung for an O2 sensor, so at some point I'm going to take the O2 sensor out, put a wideband O2 sensor, connect an air-fuel ratio gauge, and then see if I can get readings that will help me fine-tune this car. But that's where I am right now. Alright guys, well thank you very much, and we'll catch up next week, unless I can think of something else to do. Thank you, bye-bye.